Okay, so here's the deal. Everybody and their mom has been asking me, what build are you playing? How do you play this build? What the heck are you doing? This looks ridiculous. So I'm gonna explain it to you in this video. So what are we playing? We're playing Uncapped Demonform Infernalist Witch. So what's the point of the build? We want to do infinite damage and we never want to die being a badass demon. So the question is, how do we do infinite damage and then never die? Okay, so if you look at PoE 2 and you look at demon form, this thing right here, right? It says you shapeshift into a demon and then you gain demon flame, which means that you gain damage per demon flame, but you lose life per demon flame. And you as a bonus, you gain some cast speed. And you revert back into a human when you reach 1 life. And with this one right here, Demon Flame has no maximum. So that essentially solves our infinite damage. But we kind of went backwards, right? We now have life loss per second, infinitely scaling. If we can counteract this, we can benefit from infinite damage. So how do we do it? What's the secret? How do we not die? Well, the answer is recoup. The answer is recoup. If I go in game and then I turn into demon form, right? And I show you, I start losing health immediately. And it gets faster and faster and faster until I get to 1 HP. At which point I turn back into a human. So the question is, how do we counteract that? Well, the answer is recoup. We basically start hitting ourselves a bunch and we start regenning it faster than the health we are losing. Okay, so how do we do that? It's this thing called Pyromantic Pack. Essentially, you see, if you look over here, you can see that I have no mana. I have this thing called Infernal Flame. Essentially, all my mana is replaced by this thing called Infernal Flame, which instead of ticking down like mana when you use your abilities, it ticks up. And once you reach maximum Infernal Flame, you take maximum life and energy shield damage as fire damage. That's a lot of damage. And then you lose all Infernal Flame. And yeah. So, how do we counteract taking so much damage? Well, we have fire resistance. So we only take 77% of our max energy shield and life as fire damage. Okay, so now we're hitting ourselves, but how do we gain the health back? So we have this thing called recoup. Essentially, over the next 8 seconds, whatever damage you take from a hit, I gain it back. And I technically have like around 150 recoup for fire damage, maybe even a little bit more, because I have a bunch of recoup. And so the question is, how do we get so much recoup? So if you look at our tree and we look for recoup, we have some over here, we have some up here, we have some elemental damage taken is recouped as energy shield, we have some damage taken recouped as life. So we get some from there, right? On some of our jewels, we have some, let's see, it says damage taken recouped as life, damage taken recouped as life, right? We have a little bit in different places. We have fire damage taken recouped as life, 27% on our belt. And we have damage taken recouped as life, or recouped as energy shield. And 17% of damage is taken is recouped as life, right? So we have a bunch of recoup. But then you saw that my energy shield, whenever I hit myself, is also regenning. How do we do that? Well, we have this unique called the Sacrosanctum Corvus Mantle, which damage taken recouped as life is also recouped as energy shield. So we get both at the same time, right? This build wouldn't be possible without this unique. Cool. So as we cast and we fill up our Infernal Flame, we hurt ourselves and we recoup it as energy shield and as life. Cool. So let me give you an example. If we start casting a whole bunch, and you look over here at our health, we are regenning 4,600 life per second. And how much energy shield do we have? Basically the same amount. So that basically means that if something doesn't one-shot us, we are not gonna die. We're gonna instantly recover everything back. Cool. So we basically solved how do we not die? We solved the infinite damage. We get that from demon form, and we solved the don't die. And to explain it more simply, we have this chart over here that says we damage ourselves with Pyromantic Pack. We reduce some of that damage with fire resistance. We recoup it back with a bunch of stuff on the tree and on our gear. That turns into HP regen, which means that we get infinite damage and we never die because we regen so much that if something doesn't one-shot us, we're not gonna die. We're gonna regen back up. Cool. And now, how do we scale our damage? How do we get more damage? Because we have demon form, which as we stay longer in demon form, let's look at our lightning warp. That is ticking up ever so slowly. We can get up to like 100, like 200 stacks, and this gets up to like 440,000 damage per every single time I blink like that, and I cast it every single like every 0.22 seconds. I cast it. So that's a lot of damage. But we want more damage. How do we get more damage? Well, we scale that with cast on elemental elements. Whenever we freeze something, we spawn in Orb Storms, which does damage. Or whenever we ignite something. And we ignite stuff because it says all damage from you and your allies in your presence contributes to flammability and ignite magnitudes. So even if we're freezing them, we are igniting them. Okay, so now the question is, you might be asking, how do we get freeze damage when we're doing a lightning spell? Well, we have this ring called Call of the Brotherhood, which turns all of our lightning damage into cold damage. So now we ignite and we freeze, and so we can cast our Orb Storms with cast on elemental elements. So that's that. The next thing that we have is elemental invocation. So whenever we freeze or ignite stuff, we get energy, which we can use to cast a free spark. So that's another avenue. Since we're freezing and igniting people so much, we're going to get so much energy that we can cast a bunch of sparks, doing a bunch of damage, which is also boosted by demon form. And then the next way we scale damage is critical hit chance. So the more we crit, we're going to spawn a bunch of ball lightnings that we can teleport to, which would be more targets for lightning warp, which will allow us to do more damage. Cool. For more damage, we have elemental weakness with like a big area and a cursed ground. You have more area of effect and it has more magnitude, so they get less resistance. And then we have exposure from frost bomb, and that would give us even more damage because if they don't have any resistance, actually, if they have negative resistance, we increase the amount of damage that we do. So that's how we do more damage. Let's talk about our gear. We got this staff right here, which allows us to do more damage to people in our presence if we hit them with a lightning spell. Because of fulmination, while active the first time any skill hits a shocked enemy in your presence, that skill also hits other shocked enemies in your presence. And enemies are shocked because we have a lightning warp, which when you TP it to a ball, creates shocked ground, and enemies are immediately shocked once they stand on this ground. We have this helmet for some energy shield so that it can give us some recoup as well. And elemental damage taken is recouped as energy shield. This wand, we have some increased spell damage, some fire damage, some lightning damage on it, +4 to lightning spell skills. We got some critical hit chance and some cast speed. We have some movement speed on these boots. We have some resistances, less chill duration. We hate being chilled. I think this is a good segue into talking about Infernal Flame. And essentially, Infernal Flame is the way that we do damage to ourselves. We want to scale the damage that we do to ourselves, because that means that we can scale how much recoup we have. And if we have more recoup, it means more life regen. More life regen means more damage, because that means that we can stack Demon Flame for longer. So how do we maximize how much damage we do to ourselves? We do that by having high mana cost, a small mana pool, high cast speed, and a big health pool. Oh, and a lot of energy shield. What does that mean? We want to have as little mana as possible because we want to keep triggering Infernal Flame as often as possible. You can see that my Infernal Flame is basically on and off because every other cast is triggering my Infernal Flame. So we can get more damage to ourselves, which means more HP regen, which means more Demon Flame stacks. Cool. The other way we scale damage to ourselves is cast speed. We want as much cast speed as possible. So our cast speed is 0.22 right now. We want it even higher. We get that from our wand. We get that from our wand. Demon Form gives us some cast speed. We get it from our tree. If you look at cast speed, we got these over here, we got those up there. We want as much cast speed as possible. And also, we want our spells to cost as much as possible. And the way that we do that is by spell levels. So our lightning warp right now is level 23. The higher the spell level, the more it costs in mana. So right now, my lightning warp costs 392 mana. It's basically half of my infernal flame. So I can cast it I can trigger infernal flame every other cast and regen my health that way. Cool. And so if we look at Pyromantic Pack, it says that we gain maximum mana is replaced by twice as much in maximum Infernal Flame. So we need to have our mana as low as possible because we want to trigger it as much as possible. But if you look at intelligence, when we get intelligence says that we gain +2 maximum mana per 1 intelligence. So how do we get rid of that mana? Well, we have this jewel called Heroic Tragedy times jewel, the Orloth version, which then turns this notable over here into gain no inherent bonus from intelligence. So we can reduce our mana by a lot doing this, using this jewel. So yeah, some more recoup on our gear. We have 24% of damage taken, recoup this life right here. And that's it. Now, what are these gloves? These gloves allow us to cast faster, more cast speed, but most importantly, they allow us to freeze enemies at 50% instead of 100. So that means that we get more energy for our cast on elemental elements and elemental invocation. So more sparks, more orbital storms, and then the sparks trigger the more cast on critical, so we can keep warping and doing more damage and more damage. And these gloves are really good. And then we get more damage on immobilized enemies. And if we look at the tree, if an enemy is frozen, we ignore non-negative elemental resistances of frozen enemies. That's a good segue at looking at the tree. We want as much energy shield as possible. So we took a lot of energy shield nodes up here. We took some up here, some over here, some over here. We want cast speed. So we took some cast speed over here. We took some cast speed over here. We want life recoup. So we took some over here, some over here. These are life recoup nodes over here and here. We want some exposure, so we took some over here so they can get reduced resistances. We want increased mana cost of skills or reduce maximum mana, so we have reduced maximum mana right here, and we have increased mana costs over here. We generate lightning infusions with lightning warp, but spark requires cold infusions. So we generate, instead of lightning infusions, we generate cold infusions, taking this notable over here, elemental equilibrium. We have some freeze buildup over here. To fit all of our jewels, we take some meta skill reservation so that they take up less spirit. We also we want increased energy gain for our meta skills and some more damage if we've triggered meta skills. So we take some here and we take some up here for energy and damage. And we take some critical hit chance over here and over here. And we take some over here, critical hit chance. So that's the tree. So this build is fun. It looks super cool, but you can instantly die if the conditions aren't right. If they do too much damage to you too quickly, you instantly die. Also, you can't run certain maps. So you can't run certain maps. Some maps have minus resistances to players, and that interrupts our loop over here. So we don't want to take maps that say reduced resistances to players' max resistances. And then players have less recovery of life. That definitely interrupts our recoup HP regen, infinite damage, and never die. So if it interrupts our never die, we are going to die. We're going to get instantly obliterated. And also, certain rare monsters have modifiers that can insta kill you. Like certain abyss monsters have like health and energy shield can't go above half. If you're constantly doing damage to yourself and then they hit you for some damage, well then you're gonna hit yourself and you're gonna die. So let's take a look at some of the examples of these maps. This one right here, for example, this one says -7 to maximum player resistances. That means that we start taking more damage from hitting ourselves. and that's not good. But that map isn't as bad as this one, which says players have 39% less recovery rate of life and energy shield. This completely destroys the build. You cannot do anything. You cannot run these maps. So do not run these maps. I just sell these maps if I like exalt them. If I see it, I just sell it, get my exalters back. Also, chilled ground and temporal chains prevents us from damaging ourselves because we cast super slow, right? And we can't regen, so we have no damage and we kill ourselves. So we have some stuff over here that says 50% reduce effect of curses on us, and we have some on the tree right here, 25% reduce effect of curses on us, and we hate chilled ground because that causes us to cast slowly. So we have 44% reduced chill duration on you. And also, if we get stunned or we get frozen, we cannot cast and we can't damage ourselves. If we can't damage ourselves, we can't heal. If we can't heal, we have no damage and we die. So we have these two charms, a thawing charm and a stone charm. And then my chaos resistance is a little low. Chaos resistance is a little low. So we have this charm so that we recoup, get it? Recoup some HP if we get hit with chaos damage. And that's the build. We never use our mana flask because we have no mana. Oh, and our life flask basically is this unique flask, which doesn't really give us any health, 90% less life recovered, but we get more damage and we get 29% of damage taken during the effect is recouped as life, and the effect lasts 7.5 seconds. So yeah, that's the build. If you want to run around as a demon mommy, killing everything, spewing lightning everywhere, teleporting everywhere, this is the build for you. You just have to be aware of these caveats. Okay, see you next time. Oh yeah, and this is I didn't come up with this build. I think the most prominent player who plays this build is this guy called Hungry Boots on YouTube. So I got the idea from him. This build is basically copied 1-to-1. I will link this build, or I will link his YouTube channel in the description.